Hello, this will be a demonstration of Proposition 27 from Book 7 of Euclid's Elements, which says that if any two numbers be prime to one another, their squares will also be prime to one another, and their cubes will also be prime to one another. We're given two numbers, a and b, and they are prime to each other. They are co-prime. We're going to take their squares and their cubes. So we're going to have a squared makes the number c, a cubed makes the number d, b squared makes the number e, and b cubed makes the number f. And what we want to prove is that the number c and the number e are prime to the numbers d and f. First, because we know that the number a is prime to the number b, we were given this. It follows that the square of a is also prime to b. This we found in Proposition 7.25. So the number a squared will be prime to the number b, and of course the number a squared is the number c, so the number c is prime to the number b. Now for the same reason, because the number c is prime to the number b, the number c is also prime to the square of b. Again, that's by Proposition 7.25. So the number c is prime to the number b squared, which is the number e. So c and e are prime to one another. Going back to a and b, because they're prime to one another, we were given this. Instead of saying that a squared is prime to b, we're going to say that b squared is prime to a. Again, this is by Proposition 7.25. So the number a is prime to the number b squared, which is the number e. So we find that a is prime to b, c is prime to b, c is prime to e, and a is prime to e. So the four numbers a, c, b, and e are such that a and c are prime to b and e, which means then, by Proposition 7.26, their products will also be prime to each other. So a times c will be prime to b times e. Now, a times c is obviously a cubed, or the number d, and b times e is obviously b cubed, or the number f. So we find that the number d is also prime to the number f, so that by the end of this, the four numbers c, e, d, and f are such that c and e are prime to d and f. And this is what we set out to prove, which means we are done with the proposition, therefore, etc., q, e, d. An example of this, just very simple example, you always want to go through this to verify that the proposition makes sense. 5 and 6, they are prime to one another. So what this proposition is going to tell us is that 5 squared is prime to 6 squared. So that means that 25 is prime to 36. This is the case. And it also tells us that 5 cubed is prime to 6 cubed. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is 125 and 216. So because 5 is prime to 6, 25 is prime to 36, and 125 is prime to 216. And we can actually generalize this for any power of the original numbers. So what this, by the end, is going to tell us is that if you have two numbers, a and b, if you have two numbers a and b, then what's going to follow is that any power of a will be prime to any power of b. And we can actually extrapolate that it doesn't matter if the powers are actually equal. The square, like an example with the proposition, the square of a is prime to the cube of b. C is prime to f. So we can actually say that if a, just any number a, is prime to any number b, then a to the m is always prime to b to the n. No matter what their powers are, powers of two co-prime numbers will likewise be co-prime. That is what we can gain from this proposition. That's all I've got to say about this one, so I'll end the video here and move on to Proposition 7.28.